How must it feel being Ubisoft right now?
What the f is this piece of shit?
What to them probably felt like a slightly disappointing but otherwise ordinary business decision has all of a sudden put them at the center of community and government action that could affect the entire game industry, all to stop companies like them doing what they just did. If you're not familiar with the situation, The Crew was a racing game published by Ubisoft in December of 2014. I say was because it doesn't exist anymore. The Crew was an online-only game. Even if you were playing the single-player campaign against AI, the game still required a persistent connection to the internet to play. And on March 31st, 2024, Ubisoft shut down the servers with no fallback, effectively destroying millions of paid copies of the game. Now, plenty of you have likely never owned or even played The Crew, and to be honest, I'm in that boat too. It's totally understandable if you're not that invested in your ability to play The Crew. But this isn't about one game. It's about the direction the game industry is headed as a whole. Think about it. Millions of people put down money to own a copy of The Crew. At least that's what they expected to happen. But now Ubisoft has done the virtual equivalent of walking into their homes and taking their copy back, no refunds. Nintendo gets a lot of flack for being anti-preservation, but at least your N64 cartridges are still yours to play whenever you want. While most players still have the game but just can't get past the opening screen, many players have had their digital licenses to The Crew completely revoked, something Ubisoft can do because regardless of what digital storefront you used, the game still needed to be licensed through Ubisoft's Uplay store. And before you say this is why you buy physical media, even the disc-based versions of the game have been rendered unplayable, becoming effectively e-waste, no more useful than a drink coaster. Ubisoft's official announcement cited server infrastructure and licensing constraints as reasons they had to discontinue the game. They don't elaborate on what licensing constraints means, maybe they're talking about stuff like the music, but since when has music licensing meant you can't play an old game or watch an old movie you bought? To be fair, servers are a running cost, and if the game is no longer turning a profit, it's understandable that they wouldn't run them indefinitely. I don't think anyone expects Ubisoft to hemorrhage money just to keep an old game playable. What we expect them to do is the bare minimum to let us keep playing the games we paid money for. All evidence suggests that it wouldn't have taken much work for Ubisoft to patch in an offline mode, allowing the majority of the game to remain playable while still releasing them from the burden of maintaining servers. In fact, according to the cutting room floor, the game indeed contains a hidden offline menu option. However, the anti-tamper protection prevents you from actually using it. Ubisoft announced the servers closing over 3 months before they actually went offline, and in all that time they couldn't have enabled a menu item? Once again, you don't have to care about The Crew or the ability to play it long term, but we currently live in a world where there's nothing stopping publishers from deciding a game we bought is no longer ours to play. It's only a matter of time before it happens to a game you do care about. Ubisoft didn't break any laws doing this. In fact, they explicitly allowed themselves to do this in their end-user license agreement. The question is, do we want to let this become the new normal? Do we want to buy games in the future knowing full well they'll eventually become useless? The community is putting together fan servers that should get the game up and running again, but it shouldn't be our responsibility to fix something when the company that made it arbitrarily decides it shouldn't work anymore, and we wouldn't accept that for any other type of product we buy. So what can we do about it? Well, we need clear legislation that requires video game companies to keep games they've sold in a working state, which is exactly what Stop Killing Games aims to do. It's a worldwide initiative started by Ross Scott of Accursed Farms to take action against publishers revoking access to games you've purchased. But he can't do it alone, he needs our help. If you want to stop this potential future from happening, this is most likely our best chance to do so. This is a rapidly evolving situation, so I highly recommend heading over to stopkillinggames.com to see the latest updates. As of this video, there are initiatives in both the UK and Australia to have official government hearings on this issue, with the UK Parliament even making a statement addressing it. Citizens of the UK and Australia should sign these as soon as possible, especially since Australia's has less than 2 weeks to go as of this video. There are also various consumer rights organisations you can contact, such as DGCCRF in France. You don't have to be in France to contact them, it'll count wherever you are because Ubisoft is a French company. However, the steps are a little laborious because they require you to prove that you tried to contact Ubisoft first. Once again, the steps for that and many other ways to take action depending on where you live are on stopkillinggames.com, but keep in mind that for some of them you'll have to be diligent about following up. And of course, spreading the word on social media so as many people are aware of this as possible always helps. If we can get at least one major country to require publishers to keep games playable, that'll probably be enough that they'll just do it for everyone. But we don't know which country that's going to be yet, which is why we need to try and get as many governments' attention as possible. Finally, we can indirectly help the situation by being a little more vigilant about these sorts of practices in the future. Maybe thinking twice before buying an online-only game and voting with your wallet for the kind of future we want. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I wasn't initially sure if I was going to make a video about this since a lot of bigger creators already have, and it took a while before I could really dive into what was going on, but game preservation is something I know we all care about, so I wanted to do what I could to spread the word. Hopefully with your help, good things will come out of this. See you guys in the next one.